When I was a kid, my parents used to take me to my relative's house in eastern Kentucky to go hunting. The closest city is Whitesburg. My uncle had taught me everything about the outdoors and lived in a cabin up in the mountains surrounded by forest in all directions. As a young boy, he and I used to sit out on his back porch at night and use predator calls to try and call something down out of the hills. He and I were out using one of his tapes. We had been out there for a while and hadn't seen anything, so we were planning on going to bed. We were about to pack everything up when he realized that his squirrel feeder was empty and that he needed to fill it back up with seed. He then walked up the hillside about 25 yards when my aunt came to see as to why we were still outside. The only light out that night was from his porch. He was about 35 yards up the hill and called back saying that he forgot his flashlight. So my aunt went back inside to get one of his spotlights. We had forgotten to turn off the tape with the predator calls, so I turned it off. And that's when I noticed my aunt was stiff as a board. I looked up at her and she had the spotlight shining straight up to the squirrel feeder where my uncle was. I heard her say something along the lines of, "It's coming toward you, Jim." My uncle turned around saying, "Huh?" Then, a little louder, she says, "It's coming straight toward you, Jim." That's when I looked up and saw a set of eyes about 15 feet away from where my uncle was standing. It was closing in on him. Whatever it was massive. The eyes were about 4 to 5 feet off the ground, and whatever this creature was, it managed to get the drop on a man who has spent his whole life in the woods studying and tracking predators. My uncle was facing us with his back to the woods, so we told him to freeze. We all just stood there for about 3 minutes, which seemed like a lifetime. It was dead silent. No crickets, no sounds of the night, and it was probably the most creepy 3 minutes of my life. The creature just stayed there at the tree line staring at us, and us staring back at it. The brush of the tree line was thick, so we couldn't see what the shape of it was. Just the eyes in relation to the ground. After those 3 minutes, my uncle slowly turned around to see what was about 15 feet away from him. With our spotlight on it, he was able to look at the creature directly in the eyes, and then it suddenly took off. For the next 10 minutes, we could hear the sounds of limbs cracking and snapping all the way up the side of the mountain as this animal retreated. My uncle was scared, and I'd never seen him this scared before. Something else that scared us is that we had been sitting out there all night listening intently and watching that tree line like hawks. Whatever animal or creature that was didn't make a single sound coming down the side of that mountain. It never made a sound until it took off. I didn't get any sleep that night, and neither did my aunt or uncle. Let me say this though. This animal couldn't have been a bear nor a mountain lion. Based on how high the eyes were off the ground, the eyes were too high to be any one of those animals. Till this day, my uncle and I still don't know what animal or creature that was, and my uncle has never seen anything like it before.